Hello, everybody. We're here reporting from Lubbock, Texas, following Arizona State's 30-22 loss against Texas Tech. ASU now moves to 3-1 on the season, 0-1 in conference play. My name is Justin Lacertosa. Alongside myself, as always, is publisher Hunter Bino. And Hode, coming into this game on the road in Texas 2 weeks in a row, a lot of fans said that this was a very winnable game and a very good shot. ASU starts 4-0 on the season, which is uncharacteristic given recent years. But in a way, Sun Devils sort of shot themselves in the foot.
Yeah, absolutely, Justin. I think when you have 8 penalties for 69 yards, when you just have a lot of missed assignments on offense, missed assignments on defense, it really was just one of those games where ASU could not get out of their way. I mean, we'll talk about the stats, especially from Texas Tech's perspective later on, and I think those are stats that coming into the game. I mean, if you knew that those are going to be the final figures, you think like ASU would have a pretty good chance to win. And obviously, it wasn't a blowout loss by any means, but I would say definitely one of the more disappointing losses in recent memory. I know that they had a few of those in 2023, and when the way 2024 started, you kind of got this vibe that maybe this is going to be a different team in that regard. This is a team that maybe kept things close, but really could never get over the hump. And ultimately, I really thought they were the worst enemy.
Yeah, and Texas Tech coming into this game wasn't really well-renowned defensively. That was sort of the Achilles heel in a way for this group. But it seems like those issues weren't on full display in this game as they were in the games beforehand. So what did you sort of see out of Texas Tech's defense and ASU's offense?
Well, I would say first and foremost, Justin, they absolutely shut down the Arizona State rushing game. I mean, sure, running back Cam Scatterboot did have two touchdowns on the ground, but only had 60 yards rushing. Even Sam Levitt wasn't able to rush with the volume that he rushed in recent games. Sam Levitt did pass for 282 yards, but I think those 282 yards are kind of deceiving because he only completed 58% of his passes. Definitely had some mysteries, especially passes down the field. Did have an interception that Texas Tech did capitalize on and scored a touchdown. Cam Scatterboot did have 117 yards receiving, and obviously the highlight of that was a 66-yard reception. But overall, I think whether it's on the ground or in the air, this ASU was really not able to get into any kind of rhythm, any kind of consistency. They really tried to run the ball a lot from the right side of the line, just because that's what the Texas Tech defense dictated, and they're really stonewalled over there, time and time again. So I think that if Texas State, for example, was a game where ASU was able to get away, if you will, with a very average running game against Texas Tech, this really was not the case at all. Coming into the game, the Red Raiders' run defense was ranked 108th in the country. And this is after 3 games. You can always go back to that argument, maybe not too big of a sample size. But nonetheless, I mean, this was not a run defense that was really striking fear in their opponents at all. And I really thought that ASU did have a good chance to really keep things balanced and really get the running game going and opening more things up for Sam Levitt. That really didn't happen. Kenny Dillingham said after the game, look, I mean, when you look at it, it's still a redshirt freshman quarterback starting his second road game in a row. Obviously, it was a more hostile environment than it was last week in San Carlos, and maybe some of those elements really did get to them. But I think that when it comes to the run defense, Texas Tech did offer a lot of odd man fronts. The ASU blocking when it came to the running game just really was never in sync, and I think that this is probably a sign of things to come, that if ASU's run game cannot be even at an average/adequate level, then they may have more games like this in the future. So definitely a lot of good game film, a lot of teachable moments from this game. But this offense definitely was not really ever able to get things going. And again, this was not a menacing defense by any means. Definitely not a menacing defense compared to the groups that ASU is going to face down the road.
Yeah, coming into this game, the calling card for the Red Raiders really was that offensive firepower, both on the ground and in the air. And although the Texas Tech didn't score 66 points like they did against North Texas, still that balance was on full display and really controlled time of possession and was a big test for ASU's defense that they just couldn't overcome.
Yeah, it almost like was what's that saying? Death by 1,000 paper cuts. I mean, that's what it really was. I mean, there really weren't too many explosive plays by Texas Tech. Texas Tech only passes for 201 yards. Taj Brooks, the running back, didn't have a bad game, but only rushed for 117 yards. And didn't even have any rushing touchdowns. But I think what Texas Tech was able to do that really fit their game plan, they ran 83 plays that really gassed the ASU defense. And also their time of possession was 9 minutes more than ASU. So they just ran just a very, very effective game plan. Again, if you just go back to that premise that, okay, if you told me before the game that Texas Tech would only score 30 points, that their quarterback was not going to go off on you, and Taj Brooks wasn't going to have an okay game with 117 rushing yards, I think if you're an ASU staff member, ASU follower, you would like those figures in terms of your odds to win this game. But it just seems that the defense had some costly penalties, and that is something that definitely definitely hampered them. I just felt again when it comes to the volume of plays that Texas Tech ran, this defense at times looked gassed mentally, it looked gassed physically. They really didn't trust each other at some points of the game. Just really having games, just really having plays that where players were totally uncovered. Again, maybe not an enormous number of explosive plays. I would argue that maybe even saw more explosive plays and more blown coverages last week against Texas State. But nonetheless, the end result, I think, just really reflects the Texas Tech offense that wasn't a shock and awe show by any means, but they really did just enough to keep the ASU defense off kilter. It seems like the ASU defense was really able to settle down after the Red Raiders scored on their two first drives of the game. But if anybody knows my post games from previous years, I'm a big believer that if the offense does not support the defense, then that just causes more issues for the defense as the game goes on. And I think with the offensive futility by the Sun Devils, that's something that did affect their teammates, the teammates on the other side of the ball. When you have a number of penalties on third down, when you have Miles Rouser, who did have a good game, I think, for the most part, but he gets a sack on third down. Great. Defense is going to go off the field, but now he taunts the quarterback after that big play. Here we go. The chains moved. Texas Tech did not score a touchdown on that specific drive, but I thought that play like that was very emblematic about not only the offense shooting themselves in the foot, but also the defense really having a lot of issues. I have to also mention special teams. Parker Lewis has been absolutely phenomenal, I think, in his kickoffs. He had not one, but two kickoffs go out of bounds. Texas Tech is not the offense that you want them having starting their drive on the 35-yard line. And again, they did not put up stats that are really going to be eye-popping if anybody reads the box score. But nonetheless, I think it just added to their effectiveness today, added to their confidence. And I just thought that the defense was really, really battered. But again, when you're on the field for 83 plays, I think that eventually is going to take a toll. But so not a great game by the ASU offense, but definitely not a great game by the ASU defense. Again, a lot of teachable moments from that film session coming up.
Yeah, when Cam Scadaboo talked to the media after the game, he said a couple things that caught a lot of people's eyes. ASU lost its fire, which was evident on the field, but also that there's multiple seasons sort of within this season. Obviously, 3-1, 4 games through. Now ASU moves to week 5, the bye week, first to 2, and then 4 games, weeks 5 through 8, and then week 9 is another bye week season, sort of split in half, all within one. And he talked about sort of coming back on the right track. So what do you think are some of the things that ASU should address going into this bye week?
Well, first of all, just taking like a macro view, okay? And Kenny Dillingham said this too. He's very disappointed. He says, I'm going to be miserable for the next 2 weeks, and so is the team until they play Kansas on October 5th. But he also said, and this is a very, very practical statement, and maybe it's going to anger some fans, but 3-1 is not a bad place at all to be after 4 games. Sure, you want to be undefeated, but what's the next best option of being undefeated after 4 games? That is a 3-1 mark, and that is something that I think even some of the more optimistic ASU fans probably did not envision. So I think you have a foundation, for lack of a better term, really to build on. And I'm not saying ASU is going to overlook Kansas or any other team in their schedule, but Kansas right now is 1-3. Okay, trust me, Kansas would love to trade places with ASU. I know they got a game against TCU next week. I mean, I know, and who knows, based on that game, if Kansas is coming into Tempe with a little more momentum than they have at this given moment. But I just think with ASU, if they do really just look from that 20,000 foot above view at their first third of the season, it really is not a bad view at all. I think that the resolve and resiliency that they did show in the last two games just was not there today in Lubbock for one reason or another. Again, uncharacteristic number of penalties. Definitely did hamper them, and they just really need to take to heart what Texas Tech, again, a horrible run defense coming into this game, what they're able to do so well against them, because I'm sure Kansas is really going to try to take that blueprint of the Red Raiders presented today and try to stop Cam Scadaboo and company. Also should mention about the run game that DeCarlos Brooks was dressed but did not play, and that's something I know we mentioned a lot even in this short season to date, and also a lot last year, that DeCarlos Brooks really was the huckleberry, if you will, to Cam Scadaboo, and when he's not able to really help shoulder that load, and there's more pressure on Cam Scadaboo, that really showed a lot. Again, I don't know if the running back by committee is ever going to happen this year, but I think it's just evident each and every week more and more that it really does have to take place. So a healthier DeCarlos Brooks and maybe some other running backs be given more opportunities. And I would say, to be fair, also showing in practice that they're justifying those additional opportunities they're about to get on game days. I think that's something that really can help ASU a lot. The defense, I just felt, again, don't want to use that word uncharacteristic, but I think also for this side of the ball, we just saw, like I said, players really not trusting each other, really having a lot of missed assignments, and that is something that I don't expect this side of the ball for the Sun Devils to produce week in and week out. And special teams, it's just been a little bit of the roller coaster so far, and today, obviously was not a good outing for that group. But we've seen what this group did in the preceding three games, and I like to think that, again, not to use that word, out of character one more time, but I think that it's another group that if they just play up to their potential and really play like they did for the majority of this first third of the season, I think they're going to be fine. So you hate to go into bye week with a loss, because now it marinates not only 1 week but 2 weeks. But I think overall ASU did not have a bad first third for the season. They definitely have a lot to fix. But I think the good thing is that the shortcomings are fixable, and you do have better talent compared to this time last year to really remedy all those shortcomings.
So ASU falls to 3-1 on the season, loses its first game in Big 12 play. But to stay locked in on everything Arizona State sports related, go to DevilsDigest.com. Follow Devils Digest on Twitter @DevilsDigest. We'll talk to you guys soon.